All right, there we go. Okay, we are recording and we're live.
Thank you very much for being.
Sure.
Good evening and welcome to the Girls Park Summit, our special meeting, July the 28th at 7 p.m. And we have our last committee member coming in now. Thank you. In attendance, we have Ms. Lopez. Present. Ms. Semro. Present. Kehoe.
Here.
Mr. Beston. Mr. Mitchell. Mayor Kelly is not here yet. Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Shields.
Here.
And Solicitor Hayes. For the first item on our agenda, Virginia, we're going to do the have more facts. I know you're disappointed, and so is Josh that he's. not
Oh,
here tonight.
sure. That's how we planned it. Like,
Yeah.
it was a great thing.
So he said to tell you he's not here because you're here. No, I had to say it.
If you'd like to take the photo.
Oh, sure. Yes. Good evening. My name is Mark Spatz. Again, still Mark Spatz from last time. If you recall, I was here at the last board meeting in regard to Hillside Park and that, and we have been moving forward with that. I've been in touch with Peggy and we're getting going. So this evening, though, I am here to talk to you about the Lackawanna Regional Plan. I'm also here with Isaac as well, and Isaac will make your.
Hi there. My name is Isaac Wakefield. I'm with Saltzman Hughes. We are partnering with HRG in this process to look at regional stormwater in this area. My partner Lisa and I have done a number of these across the Commonwealth, both individually and also regionally. So I'm here to take any legal questions you might have about what the process would look like and ultimately entail. Although I expect that most of your questions will probably be focused more at Mark, but I'm here if there are any questions.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. Appreciate that.
So again, this evening, and it shouldn't take up too much of your time. I was hopefully a 15, 20-minute presentation, maybe not even. I'll try to move it along and not deliberate too much on it. And then for any questions you might have, obviously we're here to address those and obviously just make a connection faces to face. And then, you know, this is a process. This is not a once kind of a thing. This will be hopefully the start of the process. You can start to know, hey, who's Mark, who's Isaac, as things go along. If you have follow-up questions, I'll leave cards. I did put some literature. I didn't have enough for everybody because my printer was struggling. If you actually see you can probably see remnants of it. And the second word here, we're hardly can print out Lackawanna. But I can email that to
I
Virginia.
have seen it, so.
Then this is fine.
Yeah, we have an extra, Mary Claire and I have seen the presentation, so.
And I
You
can
guys
email
can
that
share.
to Virginia, and then she can email, or if you, you'll have my card, so you can always email me direct. I'll send it out. And for like me, I mostly want PDFs and stuff. Either ways, because I throw away paper. But again, this evening, we're here to talk about regional stormwater opportunity for the borough. This has been brewing for a while. Back in 2019, there was kind of a bigger meeting with DEP. Senator Blake at the time organized that. The borough did have folks present at that meeting. I think Virginia might have been there. There might have been some other council members from the time. And that was again 2019, so a long time ago. Since that time, the city of Senator Blake is no longer there, and it really needed a vessel for somebody to move the initiative forward. The city has taken up that charge. They see the benefit in such a collaboration to the city and to the surrounding communities as well, to the extent that they, you know, somebody needs to help take the charge forward. They did have some funding that they're using to help prop this up. A lot of the funding that from the COVID relief, the ARPA funds, they're using in term to try to stand some of this stuff up, and we'll see where it goes from there. The stormwater regionalization is really talking about addressing stormwater as a group, as a regional entity versus each municipality. If you haven't heard the words before, MS4, it's kind of in relation to that, but not just limited to that. So as we all know, stormwater pollution if everybody can see this, hopefully well enough, okay. We all know that stormwater sometimes deals with some challenges. This is here in South Abington itself, but challenges of polluted streams, tightening regulation, aging infrastructure, increased flooding that we see. Come on in.
Sorry.
No worries.
Barry's gotta go that way.
Oh, that way. Okay, sorry. No.
Gonna let the dogs out and take a shower.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Oh,
And the dogs do.
Yeah.
And level funding. So it's always a trick, right, to address increasing stormwater costs, increased intensity of rain. You're not having taxes go up all the time. You have inflation to deal with, just the construction inflation is 3% every year. That's in normal years. Now we have this big thing of inflation. So it's just a challenge. It's just another infrastructure challenge that municipalities have to deal with, right? You have roads and stormwater is part of the sewer, all these other things. So it's a challenge. And what we do know about stormwater is too, that it's not so easily addressed by a specific region. Stormwater doesn't know the bounds of your municipal boundary lines. It knows flood areas based on, river basins and whatnot. It'll flow right across from one municipality to the next. So one municipality's where an issue might start might become your issue, and you really need to kind of partner up with two entities to kind of deal with it. But that's kind of difficult sometimes when you don't have a regional collaboration, right? Because they'll say, well, it's not in my town, I don't care. Whereas if you can hopefully get into a regional collaboration, everybody would be. So this initiative is a collaboration. It's not Scranton doing a thing and then, it's a new entity, a regional entity that would be created. Clark Summit would be a part of that, would have people on the board, just like a regional entity, just similar, like I'm on the park board, similar to that, right? 5 municipalities on that park, you have 3 representatives. One of them's pretty bad, Josh, but but 3 representatives that represent, and it's a collaborative effort. And if you don't think that's a very success, go over there tonight. It's completely packed with the concerts and the softballs having its tournaments, and my son's over there playing soccer right now.
And parking is like non-existent.
There's not even
at this
parking,
point.
which is great.
Driving in at 6 o'clock, nothing.
So regional collaborations can be very successful. They have to be managed well and thoughtfully put together. That's the key. And you got to make sure you have representation. So this is kind of the start of this. So so kind of dropping back to, why should we, consider this or think about this? So MS4 is this initiative by the states to work to clean up the waterways. We have streams and creeks that can't sustain natural aquatic life. They're polluted, you wouldn't just go over and maybe start drinking out of some of these streams. You go, well, it's not supposed to be that way. They're supposed to be cleaner. So this MS4 initiative, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it was something that was started in the early 2000s, really got jump started in 2018. And I believe the borough had made improvements to infrastructure and expenditures to deal with the requirements to clean stormwater up running off of the streets in the borough area into the stormwaterways. Now, a lot of municipalities through COVID, kind of this downside and blessing all at the same time, because there was that ARPA funding, which did help alleviate a lot of that. A lot of municipalities used ARPA funds to help meet the MS4 requirements, but hopefully, again, ARPA was because of COVID. So on one side, it's like, well, hopefully that COVID doesn't happen again, but then on the downside, ARPA is probably not going to happen again as well. Dealing with, continually funding, because the MS4 program is not stopping. So between 2018 to 2025, the borough currently is under a permit that to deal with removing sediments, 10% reduction in sediments leaving the borough area. So that's just murky water to make that 10% less. So not a huge amount, but it's a big area. And then also mapping outfalls, following up on any oils and things of that nature that you see in outfalls. So your engineer knows all about this stuff. I'm sure he's been working toward it. making sure you're staying in permanent compliance, which is a struggle. The big thing that might not be on municipalities' radar is in 2025, there's another permit renewal. And there's going to be more reduction requirements and more mapping requirements and all these things. So it's an ongoing process. It's not like we just have to do that for that last 5 years, which we're not even at the end yet. And you're done. It's going to keep going. And I do get questions like, well, when's it going to stop? And I don't work for the DEP, but I would imagine once the streams start to get cleaned up. So it's an ongoing process. It's like sewer. You know, sewer was regulated and we used to just dump it into the streams. In the 60s, we decided, well, as a society, that's probably not the best idea to just dump raw sewer into the streams. So we made wastewater treatment plants, and it's like, well, when's it's going to stop? Never. Wastewater treatment plants are going to be in existence forever to make sure we don't pollute the streams with raw wastewater. This is kind of the same initiative for stormwater. So MS4 is a big driver, but there is other just infrastructure struggles that people deal with as well. So it's not just MS4 that this stormwater initiative would take on. And obviously, if the borough would be a part of the program, you'd be a guiding force with it. You know, your voice would be heard of what is the scope of this authority. You'd be a voice at the table of what that would be. So why a regional approach? I think these things are fairly self-evident, but there is savings when we work together. Like that is the good part of people working together. What's the bad part? It's more effort. For me, just to go do whatever I want is easier. I just do whatever I want, but I don't save money unless I start to really collaborate with each other. So that is the biggest thing with working together. And you see that, you know, why do we have regional authorities? Why do we have regional police? Why do we have? Because it saves money. That's the biggest thing, and this is no different from that. There's other things as well. It actually, you know. When we work with large regional entities, we start to work with funding agencies like the Army Corps of Engineers, and they want to work with big entities, not a single town or municipality. So they might work with like the city of Scranton, because that's a pretty big entity. But as it gets into smaller towns and townships, you know, the Army Corps is a pretty big entity. So regional collaboration has more grant clout. To get more aggressive with funding, to get in relationship with the Army Corps for 50-50 match dollars and including fund services. To get more clout with local legislators for, you know, getting your name at the top of grant lists because it's serving constituents, their entire constituency plus some, and multiple legislators. You know, from here to Dixon City, that's not just one legislator, there's like 4 that go up through that route. So you're, instead of just one person fighting for you, you're getting all those legislators fight. So you can see there's a lot of intrinsic things that start to come together. You know, what's the downside? It's more work. You have to collaborate and, you know, and go through that process. We did do municipal surveys when we met in 2019 to kind of gauge where people were and if they were interested in something like this. 100% of the municipalities that are in this group of 8 did give us feedback. So out of all the municipalities are there, because we actually have people all the way up to Carbondale and down through. But out of the core 8 that we're talking about, and I'll get to in a second, we had 100% response through them for some feedback. And the general responses were, you know, people were willing to give up some municipal control. And this is what I'm talking about with collaboration. You're working as a group. So it's not just I do whatever I want. You're working as a group, as you know, you're a voice at the authority, but there's other voices at the authority as well to try to come to consensus. So that's